The riskiest thing you can do is play it safe. That's my own personal mantra, and for good reason. My life is littered with instances where I said yes to things because I thought they would make me secure, and then more often than not, things exploded instead, like my first marriage or my job as corporate communications director. But there's also times I said no to good things because they were going to push me out of my comfort zone. Like the time I said no to a powerful radio executive who offered to make me a demo reel for free. I've regretted that for 30 years. Thankfully, somebody invented podcasting and I got a second chance. So if somebody offers you the chance to do something you've never tried before and that makes you nervous, say yes. You don't know what that may lead to. There is more than one right way in life. I interviewed Liz and Nat Meyer-Bolton at the SALT Project. They're ordained ministers, both raised by ministers, but now they're award-winning filmmakers and podcasters. Instead of saying, we're going to be pastors for the rest of forever because this is what we do, they transferred their skill sets to a different medium. Filmmaking started as a side hustle, but then it became their focus. What continues to define their work is finding things that are unseen or not seen enough and bringing them out into the light. So think about how you might be able to expand how you use your gifts and use them in a different way. Don't expect a linear path. I recently interviewed an author named S.C. Perot who wrote the book Styles of Joy. The pandemic helped her realize that she loved everything about being a corporate lawyer except writing contracts, which is what she was hired to do. So she left her career and then experienced a tidal wave of personal loss. She started listening to the music of the pop star Harry Styles, and before she knew it, she saw 17 Harry Styles concerts across 5 countries in 10 months. SC not only transformed from a rule-following corporate lawyer into a boa-wearing fangirl dancing with complete strangers, but she also rediscovered her joy and her creativity in the process. Sometimes the straightest route is a crooked line. Creativity is not a frivolous pursuit. Not using your creativity actually affects your health. I asked my creative coach, Mark McGinnis, who's also a therapist, if he's seen the downside of not using one's creativity. And this is what he said. One thing I've actually discovered is I actually get physically ill if I try to neglect or avoid or put off my creativity. And I've seen all kinds of versions of that in my therapy practice. At a certain level, you can't deny the creative person you are. Logic can work against you. One of my favorite podcast interviews I ever conducted was with comedy writer Steve Young, who worked for David Letterman for 25 years. While writing the ongoing bit Dave's Record Collection, Steve accidentally discovered the little-known world of industrial musicals. He found out that huge companies like Westinghouse and John Deere would commission Broadway-style musicals about their product lines. Steve amassed this huge collection of records, which led him to write a book and then be the subject of the award-winning documentary Bathtubs Over Broadway. In the film, Steve says, life can be so rich and wonderful when we step off the logical path and embark on eccentric adventures. Sometimes the best decisions don't make sense. Practicality is overrated. My dear friend Rachel Perry decided to go to art school at 36 while she was raising a first grader. Not exactly practical. Sometimes she'd sketch with one hand and drive with the other while taking her son to school. But her impracticality paid off. She's now a nationally known artist, and last year she was part of a theatrical experience at Carnegie Hall. Sometimes it pays to put practicality aside and just go for it. Constraints or opportunities. All the good work I ever made came from a financial constraint. When I was living in Ireland and didn't have any money for oil paint, I worked with other people's used tea bags from a coffee shop. And a few of those pieces are now in some prestigious corporate art collections. The financial constraint pushed me to creatively problem solve. And the painter Grandma Moses worked with a major constraint. She produced over 1,000 paintings in the last 30 years of her life, but only after her arthritis made it impossible for her to crochet. What we think is a limitation may be the thing that ignites our creative thinking. Failure is your friend. When my memoir didn't get picked up, I called my friend Amy Grant, the Grammy Award-winning musician, who's been around the block a couple of times. And she said, Tricia, in our house, a no is as good as a yes, because it just redirects you. And that felt empowering because it completely removes the rejection component. If you say, my creativity is going to end up looking like this, then the only result is that it either looked like that or it didn't. It's a pass or fail. So creativity requires no's, because then you go, okay, well, we won't continue in that direction. We'll keep going, but in a different direction. And then it all becomes exploration and adventure. So if you get a no, don't be discouraged. Just see where it will lead you. And I find eventually a yes will come. There is courage in community. It helps to have fellow pilgrims on a journey. Everything is easier when you've got someone to cheer you on. One of my podcast guests was the #1 hit songwriter, Barry Dean, who's written for folks like Little Big Town and Tim McGraw. And he's also the CEO of a company that makes smart technology for wheelchairs because his daughter is in one. And in the podcast, Barry talks about the impact one of his colleagues, Chris, had on him. Barry told Chris, "There's a whole lot of voices in my head telling me I can't. And the one that says I can sounds like you." That's what we can be for each other, that voice that says we can. Make a mark now. Creativity matters no matter when you start. I went to art school in my mid-30s, started performing in my late 40s, told stories with the Moth in my 50s, and started a podcast at 62. And I'm in good company. Julia Child published Mastering the Art of French Cooking when she was 49. Jeanette Bedard ran her 12th consecutive New York City marathon when she was 81, and she started running at the age of 69. And my personal hero is Iris Apfel, the fabric designer turned fashion icon in her 90s. So whatever your dream, it is not too late. I'm not sure what I'll be doing by 70, but I'm pretty sure it's already in the works, and I'm just not aware of it yet. Don't regret the work you might have done, and instead feel the satisfaction that comes from doing it. Remember, this is no time to be timid.